back to Velvetorium. Today we're going to be making an owl journal cover, so if you're not subscribed already, please consider doing so, and let's begin. So first I started by conditioning all the clay, and this one I've got just now is Primo's Peacock Pearl, which is actually my favourite of their effects clays. It's such a nice colour, like a shimmery teal colour. But I've been using Sculpey for so long and just painting it instead of using coloured clays that my coloured clays were all so firm and so neglected, so it took me a long time to condition all these ones, but I got there in the end. So finally, once they were all conditioned, I started rolling them through my pasta machine. That was on the thickest level, which for me is level 1, I believe. And then I just kept folding it over until they mixed together. And now I'm just cutting it to size. I've got a little notebook here. And once that's done, I started on my darker clays, my blacks. There's one black there, it says Sculpey Soufflé, and the other one is Primo Granite, I think it is. I'll check and I'll put it in the description. So once those were conditioned and rolled out, I'm just sketching on the basic shapes for my owl here. And this is totally freehand, and they do change slightly a little bit over the course of the project, but you know, it's just one of those things. And once I'm happy with that, I just cut it out and place it over my base, and then cut off the excess. So I have this eye here, this glass eye. I did not make this one myself, I bought it, and I did ask on Instagram a little while ago, looking at these eyes, what do you think they should belong to? A lot of people said owls, and I agree, it should belong to an owl. But in hindsight, because of the angle of the owl itself, it's kind of like a 3/4 angle, I maybe would have painted my own and moved the pupil slightly so it was more looking kind of out in front of itself instead of like directly out to the side. It maybe looks slightly bizarre, but I'd committed to it by the time I thought that, so this is the eye we're using. So yeah, just making a little eyelid. I think it's rolled out on level 4 or 5 of my pasta machine, so quite thin. And tapering off the edge, you know, the inner edge is narrower than the other side, and there was a little gap at the back here, so I just made another little strip to fill it in, and then just blending everything together. So with these flat kind of 2D things like journal covers or whatever, it's really just about building up volume in the right places. And I like to start around the eye, although maybe it's not going to be a place that has a lot of volume. Like in this one, it's definitely not. There's definitely a lot of volume elsewhere in the composition. However, the eye, around the eye, of course, is not completely flat. So it's just a good place to start. So now that that's done, we can start building out some of the other shapes. And with this one, I didn't want to just put feathers on top of feathers to make volume. I wanted to actually use the clay in a different way, because it's so easy with anything with feathers just to layer them on top of each other. And it can work, of course, that has its place. But here I wanted to try something a little different. So I just added a snake of clay around the eye. We want to kind of build out the face area first. So I'm just blending this together. And they're kind of adjusting the shape slightly. Wasn't happy with that. Now I want this to have a sharper edge around the side, and normal people would just pinch this with their fingers, but because I insist on having longer nails, I'm pressing it between my fingers and a flat rubber shaper, so that's what this is. But normal people can just pinch it. So now again, it's just following the process through every section, kind of trying to build up the higher points. I did the same here by sharpening that edge with a little bit of pinching, and now I'm just making sure that it's blended in properly. And here obviously I felt like there wasn't enough going on underneath the eye, so I've added more to the lower eyelid. And then I'm just continuing to blend and shape out a little bit. And this was really quite an intuitive piece. I just had a reference picture, or a few reference pictures that I'd looked up on Google of owls from different angles, and just trying to think about how to represent the shapes in clay. So yeah, I was just kind of going with it and seeing where it went. And winging it doesn't really work that often for me, to be honest. I really benefit from a bit of planning, but sometimes you just have to trust the process and it works out okay. So here I'm using, this is actually the smallest tool in my ball tool set, but as you can see it's actually more of a pointed edge, and it's really good for this kind of fine line texturing. So I'm just texturing around the eyes, all of that area, all around the face, just kind of following the grain, if you like. I don't know if grain's the right words, but you know what I mean. So now, next thing is to add several snakes of clay, quite thick ones, to this area directly underneath the face. This is to represent the kind of fluffier hairs around that area. So once I've covered that section, I will try to blend the top in a little bit, kind of flatten it down, and then go over it with one of my ball tools to just give them a bit of shape. I don't want them to be completely smooth. And then I went in with my pointer tool again to give them a proper texture. So here again I've rolled out some clay on level 4 or 5 and cut out some long feather shapes, which I'm going to fill all of that area in there, and also the top of the heads there, and texture with this tool again. Next thing I did was to cut out some regular feather shapes, quite large ones, and use them to fill in all of the area that's left there at the bottom. And I just go through it bit by bit, texturing as I go along, making sure to fill in all of the gaps. And I didn't film this, but you can see the difference here between this and the last shot, that along the edge, that left edge there, I just went over everything, pulling the clay out a little bit, trying to give it a bit more of a fluffy texture around the edge. I didn't want it to be just a sharp edge all along the side. So. And here I felt like this wasn't quite the right shape, so I've just added a tiny little bit more clay and I texture it all to match. So I didn't want the background to be completely blank, but I also didn't want it to be too busy, so I've just decided to lightly texture it. This is a stamp set from Viva Decor. I will leave a link in the description. I've used it for so many projects over the years, and honestly, so many people have asked me about this set. It's a really beautiful set. So it does the job there, just some light, intricate texturing, but it's not too much. And now I'm just highlighting different areas with some gold powder. I don't want to paint this owl gold, just for it to have a little bit of a gold shimmer. So the final step before baking is to add a little bit of a border, which I'm doing here with a flat pointed tool. Any tool like that will do. And then I baked it at 130 degrees Celsius for about 30 minutes. Once that had cooled down completely, I just added a little bit of blue metallic paint around the sides, and that was it finished. So yeah, not entirely happy with this one, not happy with that eye, but nevertheless, hopefully you guys can learn something from this process. You know, I can't pretend like every single thing I do I'm completely happy with. So anyway, that's that done. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, leave a comment. Let me know you're there, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!